Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today is a very impactful show. And what I mean by that is it's going to get emotional because we're going to deal with a lot of topics here on, let me use the word, incarnation. I like that word. It's been used a lot. I know the viewers are like, wow, Dre, you've been using that word a lot. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is simple. We're in the age of Aquarius, and we're now understanding, we're now evolving. And what that means when I say evolving, we're starting to, those that are awakening, they have been awakened, understand that you don't have to blame others for the shit that you go through. Sometimes,
That's pretty powerful. Yeah.
yeah, check this part out. We ain't even done yet. This ain't even your full intro yet. Incarnation is recognizing all of this. And I mean, we're human, so it's easy to point the finger. It's easy to do that. But when you stop and ask yourself this particular question, what's the purpose and what an opportunity to change or to do something different? I'm going to repeat that. What an opportunity to do something different with your life, even out of pain and suffering. You can reincarnate into something truly remarkable for not only yourself, but humanity itself. I can't believe I opened the show up like that. So let's keep going. Today, I am excited. I followed this lady on social media, and it's funny how, I tell people the law of attraction is a motherfucker. Because what you put out, vibrational, you bring to you. And people say, well, you can bring anything. No, because if you're not vibrating on negative frequency, you ain't got to worry about that. And usually if you vibrate on a certain level, you're going to attract everybody that you was meant to attract. You just got to ask yourself, what's the end game? More importantly, what did I just say? What an opportunity. So today, what an opportunity. Because we have on the show Miss Lynne Goldberg. And her story is truly one of reincarnation to the fullest. Lynn, welcome to the show.
It's such an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, man, look, I'm following you, dog. You may not see me in the background, but I'm stalking. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, she's making moves here. Before we get started into your beautiful story, tell the viewers a little bit about you.
Sure. My name's Lynne Goldberg, and I started meditating probably 30 something years ago before it was popular. It
Okay.
was at the time, it was something that I did because my whole life had fallen apart. And it was the tool that helped me put my life back together. So at that time, I had lost twin girls. My mom had passed away from cancer. My marriage imploded, and then I ended up losing my job. So it was like every identity that I had held up until then was gone. I was no longer a mom. I was no longer a wife. I was no longer a daughter. And the job that I defined myself as having was gone. And I was like, okay, well, who am I? In my core, who am I? Because that's what's going to take me through this piece to get me to the next incarnation of who I'm meant to be. And it was a really powerful feeling of letting go of all of those identities and understanding that I was bigger than all of that.
Mhm.
I might have been, that might have been the way I saw myself, but certainly who I was far greater than any one identity that I might have held. And meditation showed me how to see myself in that way and how to evolve into and do the things that I wanted to do. And so, fast forward, here I am 30 years later. And, when life events happen, which they do to all of us, unfortunately, we'd love to protect ourselves from them, but they happen.
Right.
I had real skills, a real way of dealing with the stuff that was going on.
when you talk about skills, we're gonna go back on that a little bit. Let's go back.
Sure.
You lost. When did the first? You've been meditating for a while, for over
Yeah.
30 years, correct? For over 30 years.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Let's start there for a minute, because that's a
Mhm.
long time.
It is.
And unfortunately, you still dealt with life. Just because you
Right.
meditate, you still got to walk through that door and deal with the word life, or should
Mm.
we call it what it really is, hell on earth. Damn, where did that come from? But with that said, 30 years of meditation, how really deep were you into meditation prior to these string of events happening to your life? Because it's just like people, let me use an example. Some people say, well, I go to the gym, but I really don't go. So
Right,
how
right.
strong were you into the meditation aspect of your life before all that really started to the snowball effect start to happen?
Yeah. My mom was diagnosed, and when she was, her doctor said, maybe try meditation. And so
Okay.
for her, it was her way of, you know, keeping herself calm when she was waking up and having panic attacks because she knew she was going to die. And for me, I was having panic attacks that she was going to die too. So when she said to me, "Hey, try this with me," I thought, okay. And at the same time she was going through this, I was like going through all my infertility stuff, and I was trying, there was a lot going on in my own personal life. So I thought, well, I could really use some of that calm that she's talking about. And I didn't have, I was very, very reactive at that stage of my life. So an event happened and it caused me to like freak out, and I was really not okay. And so I started meditating. And at first I would say I was like an emergency meditator. So I
What's
would
an
drink.
emergency meditator? You only did it when situations became overbearing.
Yeah, like, I would basically at that point I was like drinking lots and lots of Chardonnay,
Oh.
and I would I would go to sleep because I would be just passed out. And then I would wake up at 2 in the morning and my heart would be pounding and I'd be like, oh God. And then I would start meditating. And that was not ideal.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say that I had this love affair with meditation right away. I would say it was a skill that I acquired over time. It was okay, it helps when I wake up at 2, 3 in the morning and I can't get back to sleep. Maybe I can start to bring this into my daily life. And then as it became a daily practice, it became something that I saw huge, huge benefits with. And it just started shifting my relationship to all the different waves that came up.
You eventually, unfortunately, you lost your mom as you still
Right.
trying to keep hold of what you share with her, which the universe has a way of putting things in your face and we don't even see it. But your mom brought to you or introduced you to meditation, and
Mm.
she wind up passing. What was the paradox at that particular point in your life?
So I think with all of those life events, my my feeling about my mom was that she had given me one of the most wonderful gifts, not just the gift of meditation, but she had given me, obviously the gift of life, but also these incredible. My mom, when she was diagnosed, um, was told she had X amount of time to live, and she took herself with a morphine pump and said, I want to get to Africa before I die. And that was her dream. And so she went on a safari with a morphine pump attached to her arm. So she lived her life to the fullest, and she taught me how to do that too. And she showed me that everything that comes up is an opportunity, as you just said, really. And my mom was the person that showed me that full on. And it was such a life lesson to see somebody who wasn't going to let the victim in her, she never had this poor me attitude, like, why is this happening to me? She was young when she passed. She was 56 or 57 when she passed.
Wow.
Yeah. And she never felt bad for herself. She was like, okay, this is my time. How am I going to use it? Because if I spend my time wasting it saying poor me, then I don't get to use my time effectively. And
Mm.
that was a really great great lesson that she gave me.
Then you wind up naturally. Did your meditation at that particular point become stronger? Because that's a gift that not
Yeah, for
just a
sure.
gift, but an opportunity for you. Did your meditation skills become even more stronger? Because I'm trying to show the viewers through all these tragedies that you encountered, the power of meditation also should have gotten stronger if you didn't, shy away from it or minimize its
Right.
effects. So did your meditation skills become stronger at that particular point somewhat?
Absolutely. The meditation for me has been this life jacket in the middle of a storm. So it's just been my anchor for everything that happens. It's the way that I go back and find myself. And, we get caught up, we get all distracted by life and things happen. And, there's that unsettling periods. And this just gave me a sense of I can always come back to me, no matter what else is going on. And that feeling of being grounded in whatever else is happening around you, there could be a tornado happening around you, but if you're grounded in the center of it, then you're not getting swept away by all this stuff that goes on around you. And that's what happened. That's what it taught me.
Then you and your husband try to work on having children.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, you wind up losing a set of twins. I told you about my daughter losing twins going through the full term. And um, my daughter's very, man, she's a beast mindset because I can't imagine going through full term and losing twins and feeling that life inside you of two lives inside you,
Hmm.
but you had to you lost your twins as well. So that means now, do you question
So for
meditation? Do you question life? Do you question why me? Do you have the strength to go back and ask yourself what's the purpose and what's the opportunity with such a loss?
So I'd love to say that I got there right away and that I understood that there was a purpose to it right away. I can't say that I did. I have to say that there was a period of grieving that was profound. Um, and that sense of loss in the life that I felt was, I wanted to be the typical mom that was going to be out there doing carpool and doing all that stuff. And it just didn't happen for me that way. Um, but of course, life is a beautiful thing because it gives you opportunities that you never ever could have imagined. And I was lucky enough to adopt two beautiful children that I never would have been able to adopt. And then I got pregnant surprisingly by fluke
Wow.
later on. So, life works out the way it's meant to. And each time it happened and it showed me how um there are no there are no accidents. Things
Right.
happen in the order that they're meant to happen, in the reason for the reason that they're meant to happen. Um, I was meant to take care of those two boys. They needed me, and I was there and able to be the mother that they needed at that time. And so that was a gift. That was a huge gift that I was given.
How did that come about? Like, what was the scenario that even put those two boys in your midst?
Mm. Oh, that's a long story. Do we? So I got I was determined that I was going to adopt a baby, and I went through 9 failed adoptions. And the birth mom that was going through all this with me, because she was working in the agency, said to me, I've never seen anyone want a baby as much as you do. And I'm going to give you my baby. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. So she ended up giving up her baby for adoption to me. And her cousin, 2 years later, called me and said, I have a baby for you, and I'd love you to take my baby. And I ended up, they were related.
Wow. And I guarantee you have that's even a serious, strong bond because
Oh,
you know
great.
the biologicals. What's that like?
Both
What's that
times.
like? That's the universe doing some crazy stuff here. What's
Yeah,
that like now with all of you guys connected spiritually and emotionally with
yeah.
the kids?
So unfortunately, my younger son's birth mom ended up dying. Um, and that was horrific for him. You know, he had had this hope that he would one day be able to reconnect with her,
Mhm.
and she ended up passing away very young. Um, and his my oldest son knows that his birth mom loves him, and I think that's very valuable for him. I think he has this sense that he was his life was protected and honored by her in the way that she knew how. She was really young when she had him, and it was just not an opportunity for her to raise children. And for him, he felt that it was a little painful for him to spend time with her, but um, but he knows he's loved, and he knows he was chosen to be given a life that she foresaw for him as being a better life for him. And so in that sense, I think that there's a sense of appreciation, you know.
Now you mentioned a divorce. We don't have to
Mm,
get deep. I don't or anything like that. Do you think that the divorce was? Let me rephrase this so this makes a little bit more sense. You're going through a lot. The loss of your
mm,
mom,
mm.
multiple trying to get pregnant. Now you got children. What was the bond? What was you and your husband going through? Because you're married. You're going through this together. Was he deep into meditation? Did he follow your philosophy, or was he dealing with his own situations, trying to comfort you or whatever? Only you know the story. What was that like? Because you would think it wouldn't have led a divorce would have been far from anybody's mind, especially a man who's taking care of his woman and his wife and seeing a brand new family coming in, knowing that you lost your mom, knowing that you're trying to keep your sanity. What I mean? You're trying to find that path to you know to to walk on. What was that like? And without getting too deep, what led to the final demise of
Yeah.
you guys separating?
You know, again, this is a meditation. This is what meditation taught me. We have the opportunity in our lives to recognize our patterns and our conditioning from our past. And if we're lucky, we start to pay attention to those stories that we tell ourselves. And some of the stories are stuff that we learned in our, in our childhood, or how we saw our parents relate to one another, or, that childhood conditioning. I was really fortunate in that I have had the opportunity through, you know, really watching my decisions and really being conscious about the choices that I have made, and recognizing that just because something comes to an end doesn't mean that it wasn't there to teach you everything that it was meant to teach you. So I was fortunate enough to see where I had unconsciously repeated the patterns that I had learned in childhood, and got to make new choices. You know, saw, oh, this is something that I don't want, just because my parents did it that way, I don't need to continue on this route.
With that said, you just really touched on something.
Mm,
How many people actually are not conscious to see that? How many people are not conscious and they stay in this hamster on the
mm,
wheel effect and they have a difficult time coming off? I know you've analyzed all of this in your own life, and I know you have your theory about why that is. So, why do you think people have this hamster on the wheel syndrome and cannot become conscious about their decisions? And even and it's kind of tripped out, they even stay in it, even though
mm,
it's toxic or it doesn't allow them to reincarnate. Thank you.
So I think everybody can be conscious, and I think it's just a question of paying attention. And I think, that's the definition of mindfulness, right? Paying attention on purpose, moment to moment. And that's what you train yourself to do. And I think that when you start to pay attention to all the decisions that you're making, you get to say, oh, well, that no longer serves me. Oh, that, I hear my mother's voice. And I don't want to be my mother or my father or whoever it is. Or, that high school teacher that used to tell me I was an idiot. Well, what did she know? Why do I have to take that voice? Why can't I hear the other voice that told me how fabulous I was? So it's listening and making decisions about how you want to live your life. And I think that idea of having a complete choice at any moment is, you know, this minute you could decide that this is what you want to do going forward. And then you do not have to have that story that you've been carrying around like, heavy bricks on your back forever. You can choose at any time how you want to live your life.
It is. It is so funny. It's almost like I'm hearing myself through you. Like seriously, I say that so often to people. I'm like, why are you letting your past and other people write your story?
Right,
You
right.
know, it all it takes is a second to change the narrative. But I think
Absolutely.
people have a hard time writing their story because they're so caught up in a judgmental state from a human aspect, if that
Mm.
makes any sense. Like such and such is going to think of me this way, or I got to do this, or I got to do this, and fail to realize that with the power of self, meditation and validation of oneself, you can actually ascend to such a different mindset and vibrate in a different way. I call it that beast mindset. Change the beast mindset. You know what I mean? It,
Mm.
it can be done. You're a living example of that. Um, and people need to understand this was a long process. So starting from the moment that you started embracing it with your mom to the divorce and the kids, about how long was this transformation taking place?
So I would say, I've had the opportunity to practice my whole life. And I wouldn't say it's a one and done. I would say that I had an awakening at that period of my life. And then I've had moments where I've gone unconscious and I've, made poor choices again. And I actually hate to use the word a poor choice because the choice is the decision point with the information that I had at that moment. And then as I start to, notice the patterns, it's being conscious moment to moment. So you're always tweaking, you're always noticing, you're always seeing the differences and how you can react in that moment. You're smiling.
Look, it's like I hear this with my internal voice all the time, but a lot of people don't resonate with it, and it can be frustrating to me because I don't live like that. I always
Mm,
say, what an opportunity. If it doesn't serve me, what was it supposed to be here for? Am I repeating the same pattern? Is it going
mm,
to extend me? Is it going to increase that beast mindset? And more importantly, I
mm.
always ask myself, what is it doing for humanity?
Right.
Because it's
Thank
not, it's not about me. I tell people all the time, what I do is not about me. It may
you.
appear to be that way because that's how you looking at it. But really, things that I do is never about me. It's about what kind of ripple effect is it going to happen now and in the present future? That's what I call it. So let's move forward a
Yeah.
little bit. Let's move forward a little bit.
Well, I just wanted to
Go
say
ahead.
what you're saying touches me. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. You keep going. This is your moment. Go.
No, when you say that it's about humanity, I think that's the other thing that meditation, of course, teaches us, that interconnection that we all have to one another. none of us are doing this by ourselves, and none of us are going through, you think, oh, poor me, but then I talk to you and you tell me about your daughter and she went through the same thing. And the more I spend time speaking to people, and that's what I do, I speak to people, and I truly want to know what they're going through, because chances are we've all had similar life experiences. 50% of people get divorced, 50% of people get a chronic ill. This is life. This is what we go through as humans. Stop seeing yourself as this one small part of yourself, and you see how much bigger you are, which is that we're all interconnected and we're all going through the same things. You stop feeling poor me, and you start noticing, oh yeah, well, we're all in this together. So how can I support other people, and hopefully we all rise together. That's the
It's so, man, it's just like I'm carrying on a conversation with myself. I tell people we're all just a thumbnail from one another.
mm,
We all carry blueprint,
mm,
the same blueprint. We all bleed red. We all go through the same thing. I always tell people, look at somebody else. You think you got it rough? There's
yeah.
always somebody that's got it far worse than what
Mm,
you're having it right now. What an opportunity to change the narrative. Now, you said something that you mentioned cancer. I guess it surfaced on your plate as well. Tell us a little bit about how that happened, how you was able to use the power of meditation to change the narrative, create an opportunity, even with the ugly word cancer being brought into
yeah.
your universe.
So I was diagnosed twice, and once with a malignant melanoma, once with a lymphoma. And there's a couple of things that happened for me. One was this concept of like fear, which was a pretty interesting concept because, of course, there's real existential threats out there like death. And then there's, am I going to have enough money? Am I going to be in a happy relationship? And I'm not saying that those are I'm not minimizing those fears at all. But I'm just saying that when you face something where you have you know that there's a, not that we all have finite time, right? We are all going to die. But when it seems a little bit closer than what you might have anticipated, there's that come to Jesus moment where you go, holy cow, what's going on here, right?
Mhm.
So I felt like it was the most wonderful gift in terms of giving me an appreciation for what I had. So, I love to swim, and I would go for a swim in the summertime in the lake that's near me. But when I realized that I might not be swimming the following year, I made sure that I bought myself a wetsuit and I went into the water in November. And it was cold.
You're definitely
But
a beast. And you're in
but
Canada
I
too. That's what's that called? Ice swimming?
Yeah, I wanted to swim. And it was also this idea of, what the stories that we tell ourselves. Again, the first time I went in for my treatment, my radiation treatment, there was this big machine and it was whirring and it was noisy and it was terrifying. And then I was like, well, what's actually happening right now? And the truth was, this was going on during COVID.
Oh man.
And I had been locked in my house. I wasn't able to get outside. And, we were told that there was something outside of us that was out there that could kill us. And, I knew I had something inside me that was potentially life-threatening. And I was in Ground Central in the hospital that I was doing my treatment was Ground Central for COVID. So I get there and I was like, okay, well, what's happening right this minute in this moment was that there's great music because the technicians that were giving me my treatment were listening to awesome music. They were young and they were fun and I could talk to people. So I was pretty happy about that. Uh, there was a big machine and it was cold. And that was the whole story. And if you take it and break it down into what's actually happening versus the stories that you tell yourself about it, Well, what was actually going on was not bad. I was alive and I was being treated and I was being given an opportunity to get well. What a gift. And
Wow.
that's a different story.
Wow. That's powerful because most people would not be able to transcend their thought to those wave patterns. Um, they would still be what I might call um, fear-based thoughts. And those fear-based thoughts have a tendency to cause a serious ripple effect in your body that sometimes you can't get out of. It opens up another door in the mind, another door, and before you know it, all your skill sets that you've picked up now become questionable as well because you go, why am I doing this? It's crazy. Um, Before we wrap up, you lose your job.
Mm.
Was what out of all of this that you're going through, the divorce, the loss of the children, the twins, the loss of your mom, you know, just everything. Which was the most impactful moment for you that really put everything together? You know, the cancer, because when you're meditating, I know when I meditate, you have to reflect.
Mm.
You have to ask yourself, what did I learn from it? What an opportunity, and where do I go from here? But every chapter of this journey, some are more impactful than others. Some educate us more, some empower us more, some empower us less, depending on the situation. But you had almost all situations be almost on the same level. If I had to go between rating between 1 to 10, shit, let's get real. Yours was a 10 across the board. Out of all the out of all of this, which one really, when you look back at your life right now, which three? I'm gonna give you three. Which three was really game changers for you?
They're all game changers because obviously, divorce is where you wake up every morning. So how does that happen? When you don't wake up in the same place and that's different. But I guess for me, the empowering feeling behind each one of those is that I feel that seeing yourself in a new, for example, I had been raised that there was a knight in shining armor that was going to come rescue me. And so when my marriage ended, I was like, well, where the hell is he?
Mm.
He's not a knight in shining armor. I've got like some guy wrapped in cellophane, maybe but there's no knight in shining armor. So I, I felt very empowered because I had to do it for myself. And all the things that I had been told were supposed to happen didn't. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess that's my lesson. I guess that's what I'm here to figure out. How am I going to help myself? Because there's no one coming to save you. And I think that message is the best take home for anybody is when you feel that you can figure it out for yourself, nobody can take that away from you, no matter what happens to you. Right?
Wow, you sure you don't want to preach? So, how has the reincarnation really affect you and affect others around you? Because clearly you got that beast mindset. And I really want to say thank you for taking time out to come and share such a beautiful story. But let's talk about the word reincarnation and what that means to you and its effect on you and your life and others that have come in contact with you.
Hmm. So I think in each moment we're reborn. I don't think it's just one time, right? We
Mhm.
have rebirths every time you take a breath. That's what meditation is. It's bringing in fresh new oxygen and releasing the stuff that no longer serves. And it's done however many times a day.
Mm.
So I think that each moment for us is that opportunity for rebirth. And I feel that when something is not how, am I fighting with reality? No, that's what happens in life. We have events happen, and then we either process them and move through them, or we get stuck and we hold on and we try to change it and we get all, and that isn't effective. It's that flow of the in-breath and the out-breath that lets us be in flow with life. And so we're constantly reincarnating. That's what we do. Our cells are constantly rejuvenating. We're constantly reinventing ourselves. We're constantly adapting to new environments. That's the beauty of being alive.
You're awesome, right?
Uh,
You're awesome, right? You're saying all great things, and it's funny because I agree with that 100%. We reincarnate every day, and we rewrite our lives every day with things that we do. I think I posted something on my social media page that kind of sums that up a little bit. I had the privilege of watching Cloud Atlantis and with Holly Berry and Tom Hanks.
oh,
Such a beautiful movie. I don't know how it came across my path. I watched it, but it clearly is a clear picture of your life and
mm,
your story because it talks about how all of us are connected, past, present, and future, and how
mhm,
our reality shapes all of this that we see. I call it the Matrix. We're actually going to have the actual writer of the Matrix on the show, and
wow.
it's funny because life is exactly, and we are the avatars in this mystery, and we
Mm,
want to know who's controlling us, who's controlling everything that we're doing. But really, you ever thought about it? We're the master of our own universe. We may get these external things like you're talking about I call them viruses. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it viruses. They come in and we have to figure out how to debug them. Are we going to let them? Are we going to let them take over our life and control the narrative? Or are we going to find a way to eradicate it and move on? You got a book coming out. You're writing a book.
Well, I'm
Can
in
you
the process of writing a book actually, so it'll be out in 2 years. So I have a little while to go, but yeah,
give us a
it's
little
exciting.
insight? What the book is going to be about? I know you're going to showcase it on our show. I already know. What's the book going to be about?
You're sweet. Um, it's it's about this. It's about this, and it's also about as we reach our golden years,
Hmm.
how this is truly the opportunity because we have a real sense of how am I going to give my life the most purpose and meaning that I possibly can in whatever time I have? And we get to do that um, with the chronological age that we're told that we are. We get to do that if we've been given um, a chronic illness. We get to do that if we've had an ending in some sort of marital status. Each time we have those life events, we get to reinvent ourselves. And so that's exactly what the book is about. Yeah.
It's definitely a must read in my world. It's definitely a must
Mm.
read. How can the viewers reach out to you and follow your journey?
I guess social media at Lynne Goldberg, Lynne underscore Goldberg, actually. So Lynne underscore Goldberg, and Lynne Goldberg Meditation.com.
So people can reach out to you to actually probably even learn a little bit on how to meditate the correct way and the purpose from you as well. I
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, I have an app. I have a bunch of courses that I teach that are on my website, and I work with people individually. So yeah.
What's your website? Let the viewers know your website. How can they check your website out?
Lynne, so Lynne Goldberg, meditation.com.
Lynn, thank you so much for sharing a beautiful story.
Oh, it's
Even
such an
more
honor to meet
importantly,
you and talk to you.
thank you for coming into my universe.
Mm.
There's a purpose that we all connect, and definitely come back and share your book. Would love to know when it's released. Um, you're definitely a blessing. Ladies and
Mm.
gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.